Hi, it's March, so we're celebrating Women's History Month. The title of this show is Women Glowing in the Southeast 2021, presented by Women of Culture 365 and Quayle Works. Our theme is The Secrets of Mastering Self and the Game. We hope to do two things in this show: honor three outstanding women's achievements and have them and a special panel share the secrets of success. This show is not for women only. We invite both men and women to join us for this special celebration and educational program. To begin our show, let me introduce our two outstanding hosts. Both are self empowerment educators. From Ocoee, Florida, the founder and editor in chief of Women of Culture 365, Mia Allman. And from my hometown, Harlem, New York, Mr. Leonard Berg. He is chairman of faculty and students at Quayle Works and author of the recently published book, The Disease is the Cure. So let the show begin. Mia, you are live.
Hello, and thank you, Cooge, for Lenny and myself. Welcome to Women History Month 2021. An ancient Chinese proverb reminds us that women hold up half the sky. Thus, we are excited to honor three outstanding women as our guests tonight, who have not only held up their own, but succeeded by mastering self, breaking barriers, and going on to glow. To glow is our term for achieving a greater level of wellness. Our featured honorees are Monique Worrell, Florida Orange County State Attorney for the Ninth Judicial Circuit Court. Diane Lady D. Taylor, KO Magazine's 2021 Our Women Rising featured cover story for March, April, and May issue. And also, Dr. Florence Alexander, president and founder of Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club, OIFF Lions Club.
In part two of this program, we'll be having a roundtable discussion of some of the things rarely taught in school. That is mastering the game.
The reasons for a women's program on mastering the game that women would succeed must face different, special, and greater obstacles in the corporate world, the public sector, and politics.
Women have special and exceptional qualities that allow us to succeed, allow them to succeed in spite of these challenges.
However, to succeed in the game of pleasure, life, or business, it is not enough to sharpen one's skill set. One must also study and know the rules of the game.
Now, to further assist our viewers in this process, we've assembled an outstanding panel of self-empowerment educators to join our honored guests. And this includes
Julie Rogers, USA, the Black Skin Whisperer, Skin and Body Holistic Makeup Artist, Natural Cosmetic Manufacturer, Self-Empowerment Educator.
And then we have Catherine Maruri Love, producer and host of Living the Life You Love, and an image and lifestyle consultant for Quayle Works.
And Dr. Arlene Woodbury, OIF Ambassador, Head Jurist, Board Member. Additionally, some of our guests will be making special offers to our audience at the end of this program, so stay tuned.
We would like to begin with Dr. Florence Alexander. Lenny?
Well, this is, I have to get to it, Cooge, so lead me in, would you?
Dr. Florence Alexander is an entrepreneur extraordinary. She's founder and president of the film festival, which is going to the Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club, that is hosting its film festival May 24th to May 28th at the world famous Enzion Theater in Maitland, Florida.
I look forward to the Orlando International Film Festival, and we're doing something very special this year. I know a lot of you have heard of Napoleon Hill, Think Rich and Grow Live. And we're going to have the Think and Go Rich movie at the film festival this year. We will have it on our Thursday meeting day. We will also have a panel following the Think and Go Rich movie on Thursday. Our film festival starts Monday, May the 24th, and concludes the 28th, which is a Friday. And during our film festival, we will have 135 wonderful movies, both full feature and shorts, from 35 different countries. We will also have a special screening of Keep Shooting. Now, I know many of you have heard of John Starks. He was one of the Knicks basketball players. We have gotten special permission from NBA to screen as a premiere his Rough Cut documentary, at which time it tells you the story of his life. So we are very proud to screen this on Tuesday of our festival. Following that particular screening, we're going to have a workshop for students who can learn how to deal with a rough cut. Monday is very special. Monday is our Lions Club Day. During the Lions Club Day, we're going to actually have screening of competitions of Leo Club members. Now, those of you who aren't familiar with the Leo Club, the International Lions Club has a club for younger children, ages 12 through 18. And they have had a national competition of doing movies, films, and videos. And all of the winners throughout the country have sent their films to us. And we will be screening these films at our festival. We will also have a wonderful panel hosted by Dr. Robert Littlefield. He is the founder of the Nicholson School of Media, University of Central Florida. He will have a panel to tell you about the collaboration between the Orlando International Film Festival and the Lions Club. So you will have a wonderful time during our film festival, news, new people, and friends. And I hope to see you at the Enzion Theater during our Orlando International Film Festival.
Now, Dr. Alexander, we're going to get back to the film festival. But first, we would like to talk to you further about you. For those of you that don't know, Dr. Alexander has personally generated over $500 million in federal government contracts. And at the height of your company, you employed over 1,500 people working in 50 states, I believe in 4 foreign countries.
Yes.
That was truly amazing. Mia has some interview questions for you. Mia?
I think Mia is unmuted. Unmute yourself, Mia. I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, Dr. Alexander, what was the greatest challenge you faced in rising to your success?
Well, actually, the greatest challenge I faced being a Black woman in America, both sexism and racism. I remember when I went to the University of Maryland to receive my doctorate degree, my advisor told me that he did not believe in women being in higher education. So for me to even get my PhD in human development education, I had to go to his secretary every semester and get her to sign my program, because he refused to sign my program because he didn't believe in women being in higher education. And I told him, when he told me that I was sure that I would be able to overcome that problem, because I had been so accustomed to being discriminated against because I was Black. I was sure that I would be able to deal with being discriminated against because I was a woman. In
That is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
in getting federal contracts, I was confronted with all of the institutional racism that we now see today in federal contracting. However, I did have some wonderful program directors and project directors that believed in the quality of my work, of my company. And because of that, I was able to serve the federal government in many, many ways, in health, in justice, in labor, in our armies, Navy, and many, many other departments, to provide federal contracting with my 1,500 full-time employees.
Wow, that is amazing. My next question for you is, how important is it for a woman to have a role model, a mentor, godfather, or a godmother in their early career?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for us all to remember that our first mentors are our parents, and those persons who help to give us life and to help to nurture us during the early years of our life. So don't let anyone tell you that you do not have mentors, because your parents and those persons that helped rear you are your mentors. Secondly, the teachers provide a tremendous amount of guidance and caring for you during your early educational days. As you go into an adult in a career, you can look forward to those persons who have given you support. And I think it's very important for you to recognize the contributions of everyone who helped you to get where you are, because we're all standing on the shoulders of many, many people who've come before us.
Dr. Alexander, who was yours?
Well, first, let me pay tribute to the Creator, because all blessings flow from our Creator. And then from the Creator, my parents, Octavia Johnson and McKinley Johnson, who loved me, who cared for me, who insisted that I bring home straight A's. These were not accepted in my home. So because of the way they taught me the importance of excellence, as I went through life, and as I did federal contracting or the nursing that I did, or being an entrepreneur, I've always looked at the standard of excellence, because my parents taught me the value of excellence. And my mother in particular said to me, be better than your best. And I carry that throughout my life.
Thank you. Now, do many women believe that you have to be a workaholic to be successful?
Well, actually, being a female, you have to take care of generally a family, perhaps a husband, a spouse. You have to take care of children. You have to take care of parents as they get older. And you have to work as an entrepreneur. So as a woman, you have to have a lot of balls in the air that you have to balance. So being a workaholic, I feel, is important in that you recognize that you have many, many roles, and you try to do your best to do as good as you can with all of the roles. but understand that you don't want to stress yourself to the point where you become dysfunctional. And I tell all women to make sure that they have a balance in their life as they're in the work world, because they will always be in the family world.
Thank you. Wow, that's awesome. I mean, you have truly balanced so many things and still going strong. But what special gifts do you bring to your profession?
Well, I think I bring the gift of giving back. And I say it's a gift because when you're able to give back to those and help other people, I feel it's a gift from God. So everything I've done, I've always looked at training other people to become better in their skill. I've always looked at helping other people to have doors open for them so they can succeed in their career.
Mhm.
In particular, in the Orlando International Film Festival, we have a program where we're helping students. We're also helping emerging filmmakers. I have a program with the University of Central Florida where we're working with elementary school children, teaching them to become filmmakers, teaching them to become artists, but always making sure as we move through our career that we reach back and bring other people up and help other people. Very important.
Thank you so much. Now, what is the most important advice you would give a person that wants to pursue your career path?
It's important that you follow your dream, whatever that dream is. And you understand that that dream is yours personally. It belongs to you, and you nurture that dream. You prepare yourself so you will be able to accomplish your dream.
Hmm.
And all of the young people that are listening to this broadcast, I urge you to stay in school and to do well in school, because practically any career that you go into, you'll need to have basic knowledge. And that's what education gives you, basic knowledge. So I would give the advice to everyone to make sure that you become prepared for anything that you want to do. And it would involve some sacrificing, but you don't ever give up your dream. It's yours, and you keep it and you work toward it.
Beautiful. Now, why is the celebration of Women's History Month so important to you?
It's important because we are the foundation of families. Because of that, we share the responsibility to make sure that everyone on earth has a place where they can strive. And because we are the foundation of the family, it's important that we honor the women in America and worldwide, as we do in the Lions Club, for all of the contributions that they have made in helping people in the family to become functioning, positive persons. The women that have come before me, I stand on their shoulders. I honor them, I praise them, and I thank God for them because they made a path for me. Therefore, I think it is proper that we celebrate the women during Women's History Month.
Dr. Alexander, thank you so much for sharing that wisdom. More details on her achievements and the secret of her success can be found in the current issue of KUMagazine.com and, of course, in her book. More on that later. First, Dr. Alexander, please tell us about the OIF, International Film Festival Lions Club, that's coming up on May 24th to May 28th at the famous Enzion Theater in Maitland, Florida.
First of all, I would like to tell you how important it is to me that the Orlando International Film Festival partnered with the Lions Club. We were last year just a single film festival, but in joining and partner with the Orlando International Film Festival, it has given us an international scope within our festival. As you know, the Lions Club has four primary issues: vision, childhood cancer, diabetes, and nutrition. Those are the four major ones. They're also interested in environmental concerns. Because of this, we are able to actually custom our festival to look at those five issues and bring in films that relate to those issues. We feel that our festival is much richer because of our relationship to the Lions Club.
More about the festival, we have also with us today the head jurist, board member, and honorable ambassador of the Orlando International Film Festival Lions Club, Dr. Arlene Woodbury. Ambassador Dr. Arlene, what is the name of the film festival and what makes it so unique?
The Orlando International Film Festival has a theme of entertaining, enlightening, and empowering movies from around the world.
Okay, well, thank you. We will all be there. Now let us move on to part 2 of our program, Mastering Self in the Game. Cooj will moderate the roundtable.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask Mia. You celebrated.
We're going to have to take a short pause before we move on. Cooj?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
You're going to get a chance to hear some outstanding interviews, questions for our panelists. The reason we felt it important to include the next segment is that not only to capture the collective wisdom of our guests on the secrets of success not taught in schools. Furthermore, in the game of empowerment, you often don't get a second chance to get some mistakes right, especially if you are a woman or a person of color.
Yes.
Now, joining our roundtable, Dr. Florence Alexander, president of the Orlando International Film Festival Club, and I believe, is Lady D with us?
She may be joining us later.
Okay, Lady D will be joining us later. Self and Mia, and we also have Julie Rogers of the USA. She's a Black skin whisperer, skin and body holistic cosmetic makeup artist and natural cosmetic manufacturer, as well as self-empowerment educator. And we have Catherine Maruri Love, producer and host of Living the Life You Love. And she's an image and lifestyle consultant with QuailiWorks. And finally, we have Arlene Woodbury. She's the Film Festival ambassador, a board member of it, and the head jurist. For those of you who don't know what this is, she helps to choose who wins in the competition. And you just met her. So let us begin. We have researched several important topics that are critical for a woman to master in order to succeed above and beyond the level of her professional expertise. Now, I will be asking, and Cooj, once he comes back on board, will be asking each of you a key question in one of these areas. However, anyone who wants to add something, please do. You are all more than qualified. The first question has to do with dressing for success.
Kat, most women realize you have to dress for success. What do many women often fail to pay attention to?
My apologies, I had to mute myself. I had to unmute myself. Some of the things that women fail to look at is everything about their image, not just what they're wearing, but their accessories. They can overdo those. And of course, they don't really, sometimes in the haste of getting ready, don't realize that even their phones can be somewhat of a telltale sign. So I say, ladies, make sure that if your phone is cracked, don't take it out of your purse. Um, if you have an outdated part of your image, just kind of keep it to yourself.
Now, men are told to dress to the position they plan to rise to. Should a woman dress as well or better than her boss? And is that considered being too competitive?
I believe that women should be very tactful, and when they get the position, they should look to find mentors and to sort of I would say copy, but emulate the standard, because every company has a standard and they have a stable image, and you cannot go wrong by emulating those who are at the top, not looking to outshine anybody, but just looking to blend in. Especially the first couple of weeks, you don't want to kind of stand out too much, and you're still kind of tripping on stuff, and you're not very sure of how to do your job, and the last thing you want to do is mess it up image wise, because first impression is everything.
Now, does a woman Black executive today need to get permission to go natural, wear braids? And does that label her as being too difficult?
I would also consult with other people in the company and look at those around you, observe those in the positions that you'd like, so that then you can actually have a cue. If you don't see a cue, I would ask somebody in private. Or there's also the company manual. The company manual usually gives you do's and don'ts. So I would look at that.
What is the rule about perfume in the office? Does cheap or expensive perfume make a difference?
So perfume is tricky. I remember one of my first bosses, she had very sensitive allergy issues. So I got schooled very early in my career not to come in with anything that was overbearing. So ladies, if you have, the perfume lotion, you want to make sure that you don't put perfume on top of the perfume lotion. You just either pick one or the other, and something soft and a daytime perfume would be preferable. And again, I would also look to find out if someone within the higher ranks of your company is has a sensitivity to scents, because you could actually send someone to the hospital depending on what their sensitivity is. So that's my advice.
Let me move on to office etiquette. Julie, what are some of the major differences between office etiquette?
I think we're ready for office etiquette with Julie.
On your mic.
Can you hear me, Julie?
All right, I'm sorry. I was muted and
What are
didn't
some
realize.
of the major differences between office etiquette and social etiquette?
Well, I think, and by the way, Lenny, I can also hear Cooge. I think you can't hear Cooge. So, but he was asking me the question so that you're aware. Apparently, y'all can't hear each other, but I got the question. And the differences between office and social etiquette can be subtle but very important. Things that you do around your friends and people, your family members and people that you are familiar with, while an office setting might say, we're like a family here in this office, you have to remember that things that you could do around your friends and your family, which would be laughable, acceptable, even in their unacceptability, could be costly as far as promotion consideration, raises, or even keeping your job if you were to do the same thing in an office etiquette situation, even if your office environment touts that we're like family. Just always remember, you might be like family, but you're not. And so conducting yourself in a professional way is always going to be, an erring on the side of a conservative approach is probably the better and the safer way to be. So if you would let your hair down and maybe get a little bit too much to drink at the family barbecue, you don't want to do that at the office barbecue. If you would tend to wear, short shorts or show a lot of cleavage and not care because it's hot and you got your tank top on at a family barbecue, you don't necessarily want to do that. You might decide to go with shorts and a button down and something a little bit more, conservative at an office barbecue. So the differences are subtle, but they can be very impactful in the
Yes.
scheme of things.
Should a woman eat before going to a reception?
Well,
I do.
I don't think that it's necessarily that you eat before you go. It is that you don't, pull a chair up to the buffet, and that's and if you think that that's what you're going to do, then yeah, eat before you go if you have that kind of an
A good
appetite. The
snack.
key is eating with class. It is really about eating with class. Ladies, when you are eating and you don't put any more food in the plate than that not don't put so much food in it's falling off the plate. The minute you stick the fork in, now your food is falling off the plate. Take one strawberry, take one, and eat with your teeth, please, and not and don't shovel. So we do one thing at a time, and we eat with our teeth, and we don't put more on the plate than you can actually comfortably carry. Most times in those situations, you're standing. You don't necessarily have a table to sit at. So take all of that into consideration.
What about finger licking food?
That's what napkins are for. And in a in a business, again, if you're home with your family and mama got that good barbecue, lick away. Not in the office. In the office setting, you have napkins. You clean your hands. The other thing is because in those kind of social settings, you're shaking hands with people, so you don't want to be licking. And it's quite common that you're eating and someone walks up and Julie, I want to introduce you to Bob, and you go and then extend your hand and shake. This is not a good thing. So that's why we have napkins. Just clean your hands, and in between bites and things like that, use a fork as often as much as you can. But no, licking the fingers is not a good idea, even if it's really good.
How should a woman react to dirty language or dirty jokes? I know we're in a new era now. So how does that play out?
Well, my stance is that if you have to go with what your moral code and standing is, and if that's not your thing, don't participate. Don't participate. Get quiet. You don't have to judge. You don't have to look offended or disgusted. Just don't participate. I know it's very common, and I often have been in social settings where women were comfortable with using the B word. Are you a bad B? And I get quiet. And they recognize, and sometimes I've been asked the question, I'm sorry, did I offend you? I'm like, no, you didn't offend me. I just don't do the B thing because you're an incredible woman. You're beautiful. And I can think of 1,000 other wonderful things to call you besides that. So I don't call people that. And so I don't prefer to be called that either. I know you meant it as a compliment, but I just choose not to participate in that. And I let it go and I skip the subject, come up with another. Oh, that's a great bracelet you have on. Where did you get that? And skip the subject to not embarrass the person. But I think that as women, especially in a male dominated place, there are sometimes the choice to get raw and jump in there and show that you can play with the big boys might be the necessary action of the day. And then and again, it's just like Catherine was saying, you have to get a lay of the land. So if you're dealing with a alpha chauvinistic male, he might be able to curse and carry on, but he has a different expectation that you stand in the power of your femininity and not participate in coarse language, and show your strength and your power that way.
Let me ask you this. Do you pay if you take a male associate to lunch, or do you always allow him to pay? And some of you else might want to tune in on this question. I don't know if there's a general rule.
Well, I think that if you're with a male coworker,
yep,
and you're out at lunch or dinner, that is not your boyfriend. That's not your husband. Pay for your own lunch. Pay for your own lunch, because the connotation, I mean, we know it is not an uncommon thing that a man who pays for your meal, and let's say this is a coworker, this is someone who is on equal standing with you, pay for your own meal. If it is your superior, then he's writing that off on his company thing. And you should still be careful as well, because again, you've got to know the lay of the land. What is the personality of that individual? If you see, and it doesn't take long for you to figure this thing out, we are all grown. And if you see those tendencies that he feels like if he pays for something, he's owed something, offer to pay for your own meal. And if he then says, oh no, it's a company write-off, you're an employee, enjoy yourself, graciously accept and keep it moving.
Well, that leads me to, should you allow coworkers, should you step back and let him open the doors for you, carry your computer, books, or packages, or assume that he's going to do that?
I don't think you should assume that he's going to do it. I think that if it's offered, that being shown honor is being shown honor. And I think that is any male who's trying to be a gentleman, allow them to do so. I don't think that, because a man opens a door for you, he's offering to marry you, or carrying your books. If it is offered, I don't think that there's anything wrong with graciously accepting. I think that it is a mistake to expect it in an office situation and play the coquette and, or go, well, can you carry these for me? And all of that, because that can backfire in your face. But I think be prepared to open your own door and carry your own things. But also, I think that, again, the power of your own femininity is to receive and accept honor when given in all circumstances. That's just my opinion.
Well, let me give you a circumstance. Should an female employee, give a Christmas present to her boss under any circumstances?
I think that if you let's say you just got to the office, you're a brand new employee, and you don't even know your boss like that, and you're buying gifts, I think that's a mistake. It looks like you're sucking up. But if you've been working with in an office situation over a period of time, and there is the office, temperament that we're like a family, and if the gift is an appropriate gift, you do not give your boss jewelry, you do not give your boss lingerie, you do not give intimate gifts to your boss. But let's say your boss is a golfer or a fisherman, and so you go and you buy him some top of the line golf balls, not a golf club, because you also have to look at the price of the gift. So you don't want to go too extravagant with the gift, because if that boss is married, his wife's going to go, what's up with that? I don't think that you give, like my husband at the time was working in an office, and there was a lady who he's a big guy, and she said, you look like a man who likes a good meal. I'm going to bring you lunch. And he came home, and he's a big guy and he likes good food. So he told me, is she going to bring me lunch? He's excited like a kid. I said, you tell her if she brings you lunch, I'm coming there to eat it. Because the giving of the preparation of food and giving the food is an intimate act. So in that particular case, no, don't bring if you bring food like that, you bring it for the whole office. But bringing food to your boss, for instance, is an intimate act. You have to be very, very careful. So it's what the gift is, it's how much the gift is, and it also has to do with how long you've been working in the environment.
Well,
I second that.
Does everybody agree with that?
I agree. I mean, Secret Santa is a safe way to go. That's all I gotta say.
It is.
Are you required as a female to buy a round of drinks at a social occasion if coworkers begin that process? Men do that. Is that something that if a woman hangs out with the guys that she does?
If she's earning like that, if I'm a secretary, no. If I don't have a company card, no. If I'm not a drinker, no. So if I'm making a good salary, I'm in an executive position and I got it like that, I think it's good to floss a little bit and handle around, especially if you're at a higher level of position. But I don't think that it's fair if you're at a mid-level or secretarial or, something like that. And that these executives that you're sitting with have expense accounts. So if it's something that I'm writing off on my expense account, let's go for it. If I'm making a salary like that, let's go for it. If I'm rewarding people who are working with me and have helped me to accomplish a great project, yes, it's a reward. And I think it's then appropriate. But I don't think you should be pressured into, using some of your rent money to impress people at your office. It's not wise, and people see through it anyway, and you look fake and they laugh at you behind your back, truthfully, because they know how much you're making and you can't afford that.
Yeah, I think that may apply to guys too.
Yeah. Men show off and get cursed out by their wives when they get home. $200 on what?
My father used to say, set up the bar. Then he would on the side say, yo, let me hold 50.
Yeah.
When I was in DC, this guy paid for everybody's meal. The bill came out to $1,500. His wife called every single person and asked them to contribute. He didn't have
it never pays to not be yourself. At the end of the day, your job from an etiquette standpoint is to be kind and respectful and conservative in affection. You might be a hugger, but everybody is not. So you be respectful of that. And because the whole point of Emily Post's book on etiquette is the purpose of etiquette is to make all guests in the room feel comfortable. So taking a conservative point and giving people the opportunity to warm up to the space is the best way to go. And in that particular respect, now you're talking about making the other person comfortable in the space. And as long as your heart is that, then you're probably going to be quite successful in making a good impression when you're among your working peers.
Thank you, Julie. Let me move on. Ambassador Dr. Arlene. I have some questions for you around career choices. As we know, women in generally make 80%, actually white women, 80% of what white men make. And Black women and Hispanic women make 60%.
That's right.
Is this because women are less aggressive in two areas, applying for jobs not applying for jobs that they may think they're not qualified for, or not asking for proper compensation? How do you suggest women deal with that?
I think some of the differences between men and women, you can see in children even. So if you took elementary school children, you would find that many more of the girls draw within the lines sooner than the boys do. And many of the boys will draw outside the lines. And as that pertains to life, I think many women assume that whatever job is offered to them, they can't ask for more, or they don't value themselves as highly. They won't ask for a job that maybe they might not feel qualified for. They're trying to stay within the lines. If they're told the salary is a certain amount, they don't challenge that and ask to be paid more, to be considered more if they have the background to qualify for more. So I think that's something that women have to learn for themselves. I think having a mentor, and you have to carefully select a mentor. Sometimes women don't always help other women. There are all kinds of issues, but if you carefully select the right mentor, you can get some good advice perhaps about how to approach something, especially if you're new to the job.
Yes.
So there's a lot we have to learn. I think women sometimes need permission to ask for a raise, to get more. A mentor can be very helpful in helping them prepare for that and to be ready for that.
Along the same lines, what about the advantages or disadvantages of postponing pregnancy or having children? What is better if a woman plans to rise in an organization?
That's a very individualistic answer. First, you'd be surprised how many couples I've seen that had not discussed before getting married whether they really wanted to have children, whether the man wanted children, the woman wanted children. Quite often, it was assumed the woman would want children. So all of that has to be carefully weighed. Um, a lot depends on how much support do you have. Is one person making enough to help with childcare? Um, One of the important things for women is you have to make sure that you understand there's a biological clock. Sometimes women will try to get schooling and positioned in a job, but they don't realize their biological clock, the infertility rate starts hitting sometimes in the 30s. They may think they can have a child late 30s, early 40s. Sometimes they start running into infertility issues. So that's something that both men and women have to deal with, that biological clock. So what support you have, whether you have enough money to have childcare as you're trying to juggle a job, there are a lot of very important factors that must be discussed. And sometimes you have to remember that it's the journey, not the destiny. And our journeys can take many turns. And you don't have to try to do everything all at once. You don't have to have 3 children and um, get advances to president of the company all at the same time. Sometimes life unfolds in varying ways, and we have to be ready for that. And sometimes there are turns that we didn't expect.
Well, let's look at the other side of the equation. Is being single an obstacle in rising in an organization, especially large organizations? I know it is for men.
I think, again, a mentor would be helpful. If you can get to know people in the company, if they've been there a while, if they've had to address this issue, a mentor can help a lot. And you can take a lemon and make it lemonade. As a single person, you may have more time to devote to the office without having to rush home. If you're not single, you have other responsibilities. You've got to establish your priorities and somehow juggle it all. As a psychiatrist, most of the people that I saw in private sessions most of them were depressed. They'd come through their journey and there were things they were having trouble figuring out. So it's being able to look at, okay, what were the lemons you were given? How can you make lemonade? How can you make sense of your journey without putting so much pressure on yourself? And a mentor, whether, sometimes as that psychiatrist, I was somewhat of a mentor, but if they looked for someone within their work environment who's been through answering the questions they have to deal with, can be very helpful.
As a psychiatrist, if somebody approached you and said they were in the LGBTQ community, would you tell them it's okay to announce it now?
That's something they have to personally be ready for. It depends on how much they've been able to deal with issues themselves personally, within their family. And then from there, I think things have changed tremendously. And the time that I've been in psychiatry, there's been a very big change. And just look at what we're seeing now, even in terms of politics. Someone running for president, someone who's Secretary of Transportation now. and there's a transgender person that has a political position. This is a changed world. 20 years ago, we may not have felt that was even possible, but there are changes. There are people that have to look at people in their family that they love, and these are choices that they're making. Some people thought, well, it's a choice they're making, or is it something that's genetic? They may not have as much of a choice per se. If this is, I mean, we're looking at a lot of hormonal factors that help make us who we are and how we think and how our brain is structured neurologically. So that if people have to be their authentic selves and they're asking people to please accept me, this is who I am. And sometimes from a very young age, they're aware of the differences. And they have to both accept themselves, and they're asking people that love them to accept them as they are.
Well, thank you so much, Ambassador Arlene. Lenny, I know in your practice you have to deal with conflict, whether it's with couples or with in the workplace. They say conflicts are inevitable. However, war is optional. In your work, have you found there are specific pitfalls women should be aware of in either avoiding or seeking confrontation?
Well, yes, I think there are pitfalls, and these pitfalls are for both men and women. Of course, one of the main problems in conflicts is lack of definition of roles. And that can be particularly queasy for women because sometimes men will expect them to be in a certain role that's more subservient. And sometimes women will actually play into that role, you see. But the key is to bring it out in the open, meaning define your role and be sure that your supervisor defines the role and in relationship to others. I think that's the key factor, definition of roles. And also in terms of any conflict, whether you're a male or a woman, a lot of times there's overemphasis on the problem or the conflict itself. Sometimes it helps to first see if you have a common goal or a common objective. Then you deal with the problems in the context of the common objective.
I would like to speak to conflict resolution. Quite often, if you help when the children are young to deal with conflict resolution, they will be adults that would know how to actually cope with some of the problems. I wanted to call your attention to a wonderful program. It's called the Lions Quest program. And any Lions Club can help you with helping young children from the elementary school through high school with conflict resolution. So when they become adults, they'll be able to cope much better and know exactly what their worth is and how to handle situations without turning to violence as we see happening today. So again, that's the Lions Quest program, and any Lions Club can tell you about it. Just want to bring
I would like to add on to that too. In my counseling with married couples, I stress to them that, you know, you're an individual, he's an individual, but it helps to look at the relationship itself as an entity. Meaning, what is the goal and objective of the relationship? And in what is my role in relationship to that goal or objective? Because all too often, each party will stay in their particular frame of reference, but the relationship itself doesn't have any direction or goal or objective. And it helps when it does.
One of the things that almost every mentor tells their mentee is to pick your battles. Unfortunately, one of the things that the mentee hears is, you mean I have to lose when I know that I'm right? How do you help them to understand that picking your battles is not losing?
Well, there's an old saying in the Chinese oracles that says, let many things pass, but don't get duped. Okay? Meaning, yes, I think that picking your battles is extremely important. What is your priority? What's most important? I find a lot of times men want to win the debate. Okay. And personally, I can tell you my personal experience is that I've had instances where uh, logically I thought something and I thought it was right, but my wife, being a little bit more intuitive than I, actually she had the right answer in the right direction. And so I think this program should be for men just as well as women. Men need to listen to women when they have very strong feelings about something, okay, and not simply think you've won just because you've won the battle and you've out-talked her, or that you think you've actually won, and you'll find out that you actually lost. So
Well,
a win-win is a better strategy.
Following through with that, is it necessary for women still to take into account the male's fragile ego and at home or at work? And
Well,
and you women can tune in too if you feel differently. But go
well,
ahead.
I met a mystic who said that to actually rein in the ego, whether it's a male or a female, takes the energy of an atomic bomb. Ego is the main problem of humanity, whether you are a male or a female. There's a male ego and a female ego. You'll have a person who is very shy, for instance, and seeming to be so humble and shy, but it's ego. Or you'll have a male who pretends to be humble, but it's ego. So I think that women should just be honest and truthful about what they feel. And but I've learned. I spent some time in the United Nations, and I learned that diplomats learn how to cuss you out, but don't use a cuss word. They cuss you out in diplomatic language. Okay,
There you go.
you know what I'm talking about. You see,
And you know what, Lenny, that I love that because, and that was just to support what you're saying. As women, we have to be strategic. We have to be strategic because at the end of the day, what is the war? The war is the war against obstacles to success. So whether or not I am going to structure how I say or what I say with consideration of the fragile ego of a man or a woman, because we agree as ladies, we run into women that are not supportive of women. But I believe that the power of our femininity, and that is the intuition to apprehend where a person is coming from emotionally, actually can work to your favor in a work environment. Because once you tap into what that person really needs or wants on an emotional, spiritual level by just discernment and observation, you're now able to structure your words in such a way that speaks to, it's not just treat people the way you want to be treated. Everybody doesn't want to be treated the way you want to be treated. People want to be treated the way they want to be treated. If I'm allergic to flowers and you're somebody who just loves giving flowers, you're harming me because I can't enjoy the flowers. I'm allergic, but I love potted plants. So, treat me the way I want to be treated. And so I think it is our strength as women, our intuitive ability to assess people in the room as to what their needs are, because as Doc was saying, we deal with children. And so, we really don't get that far from what our child mind and our child heart is. We just mask it with the semblance of maturity. But that underlying thing is, I want to be recognized and acknowledged for, and my needs met. What are those needs? So do you always, in the workplace, I believe that it is a strategic quality that we have as women to study and assess and find not the win-lose scenario, but as close to the win-win as possible.
I'd like to expand on that a little bit.
I think it's important to understand. I think it's important to understand your value as a person and look at the self-esteem and the self-respect that you have and the value that you have for yourself. And that helps you with dealing with an ego, whether it's your ego or the man's ego, to make sure you understand your value. And once you have self-respect, then that helps you with your ego issues and another person's ego issue.
Well, I would
Absolutely.
agree that's true. There's ego on both sides, but I want to delve a little bit more into this. What I, some people, one of the big problems I think is people go to extremes. Um, on one extreme, I had a client who don't, in essence, she was saying, don't treat me like a woman. In other words, don't typecast me. And um, and the male didn't think he was doing it. Women, they say women are from Venus, males are from Mars. Well, one of the things I find is that it's very important for men is a lot of times, and I think we need to speak to the men about this because there are women in their lives. Uh, a lot of times, men will not ask a woman what she needs or not try to find out what she needs. Why? Because he feels his ego tells him that he may not be able to fulfill that need. Okay. And, or he may feel like, well, now he has to fix her when all he really has to do is listen. Okay. On the other side, with women, I found that sometimes women are programmed by society to think that they can change a man and try to change a man. It's hard enough to change ourselves than to try to change a man. And you want to have an enemy with a man, try to change him. Uh, so I think that those two factors are very important, and that is to be aware of the needs of your partner. But don't try to fix your partner. Don't try to change them because it's not going to work. When the
Both
honeymoon is over, then you can find out who the person really is.
Lynn, both you and Julia mentioned the win-win scenario. How often is the win-win scenario actually exist?
Well, that's a broad question. I mean, as far as I can see, um, my obligation as a human being is to seek truth. Now, a lot of times people may argue about, well, what is truth? You have your truth, I have my truth. What I found in my work as a soul therapist is that the currency of therapy is truth, meaning being truthful. If you're being truthful about what you feel, truthful about what you think, and owning what you feel and owning what you think. A lot of times I find that people, and I have to say, I found it more in women than in men, but I'm not going to say that's an empirical data. But I hear this: you make me feel X. You made me angry. We have to own our own feelings, okay? Um, and when you don't own your own feelings, then the other person feels accused, and all they're going to do is react and get defensive. So rather than try to win, try to be truthful about what you feel, what you think. Because I found in my practice that at the root of all dis-ease conditions are underlying patterns that aid and abet and have a causal relationship to that problem or conflict. What are the underlying patterns? Uh, there are underlying habits that need to be revealed because these underlying patterns are often suppressed. There are underlying emotions. I find a lot of times women are a little bit better able to express their emotions than men. But in general, even women, I find that you ask how you feel and they tell you what they think. There are underlying emotions that are suppressed. There are underlying attitudes and thoughts and beliefs that are suppressed. And so in order, and you're not going to solve the problem unless you get to the root of that and are conscious of it. So my advice is to, rather than try to win, be truthful about how you feel and own and how you think and what you're doing, what your habits and behavior is, and then know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
Now,
I
let
would
me
like to add to that.
go ahead.
There is a corporate environment and corporate, I guess, rules that are already in place in a manual or a corporate culture. And so, um, as long as there is no disrespect and the job gets done, obviously business gets taken care of. That is a win-win situation within a business. personally, for me, when I deal with people, I look at them as archetypes, and so I don't take things personal, and I do what's best for everyone in general. And I find that when I do what's best for everyone in general, that everyone else marches in the right rhythm. So everyone makes adjustments.
I would like to speak to the win-win situation too. As head of my company, Ebon Research Systems, for over 40 years, where I had many, many employees, I always felt it was important for the job of my company to get done, but also more important for the development of my staff.
Mhm.
I feel as a boss, we need to think in terms of how we do all types of things like provide educational assistance, provide counseling as needed, provide time off. Ask a person if they look as if they're sick. Would you like to go home? And don't feel that the pressure of the work is more important than the person, because in every instance, the value of the person far exceeds what is happening in the business. So the win-win situation to me is where the company can get what it needs, and also that the employee has personal development that you help to develop within your employees. So I look at it from an entrepreneur point of view, where I have the responsibility to help my employees to personally develop. And I don't belong being a boss unless I have the worth and the value and the concern of my employees at the top of my list.
Amen. We
I'm
need,
glad you said that, because management studies, and you've done it by firsthand experience. Management studies have said that the most successful companies have found that 50% of their product or service is the development of their people.
Yes.
So that is of some wise wisdom.
I tell all of my employees, you're going to be a better person when you leave Ebon Research Systems and also OIFF than when you came, because I'm going to invest in you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
you know, those of you who worked at IBM, they have a philosophy, which is one of their most valuable assets is the people that used to work for them. So,
Yeah.
that idea is powerful.
Yes.
Dr. Alexander, you mentioned Think and Grow Rich, which you obviously are a believer in.
Yes.
But one of the problems in the book, one of the pillars of the book is what you can conceive, you can achieve.
Yes.
However, when Black people or women think big, they're often put down or considered pushy. How did you overcome that? And what advice do you have for people that really want to be big and think big?
Well, first of all, you've got to know your value. You got to believe in yourself, in your talent, and you've got to, once you understand that your self-esteem is very precious, you're able to then relate to people in the outside world. And until you feel that you have value yourself, it's difficult for you to relate to other people. So what I did in my development as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, is to remember what my mother said: be better than your best, understand your responsibility to develop yourself, and to sacrifice and prepare yourself. And then that way you're able to present yourself to the outside world as a person of value, as a company of value, where you can help the the client in addition to helping yourself. So that's the way I dealt with it, was always had a belief in myself and to have a high self-esteem and know my value and what I can give in the work situation.
Did you ever suffer from the imposter complex? Meaning you got so big so fast that you didn't think you deserved it?
No, because my concern during my 40, 50 years of being in business as an entrepreneur was always my staff. So I never thought about Florence. I always thought about what I could give back to my people because I felt that I did not deserve to have all of those federal contracts without developing different employees with upward mobility, to give them an opportunity to have a life separate and apart from my company, and let them know that I expected them to develop their family, children, to make sure that their families had everything they needed and put it first when it came to work. So I never felt that Florence's needs were paramount. I always felt that the needs of my employees were paramount.
Tell me, is it true that banks treat millionaire customers differently?
Well, that is something that we're dealing with today. With all of the PPP loans, we find out that people that don't have a relationship with the banks have problems getting what the COVID relief bill is giving us. Yes, there is some institutional racism and some institutional classism involved with dealing with banks. But I am married to a banker, Dr. Stanley Alexander, who owns his own bank. And one of the things he taught me is what I have been saying all along is to understand your value and understand when you go into that bank that they depend on you to give them deposits. Without your money, they would not be able to operate their bank. So you understand the value that you have to the bank as you're going in, even though you may not have had the relationship that the large majority companies had. Your money is of value to them also. And again, make sure that you let the persons in those banks know that your company is just as valuable to them as the larger companies.
Now, you were the queen of government sole source solicitation. For those of you who don't know, that means you got yourself designated as the only person in the United States that could offer a service, which makes competition for awards somewhat easier. But that's hard to do. How did you do that?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, since this is a program that is really focused on women, during Women's History Month, I advise anybody who wants to be in their own business to get certified as a woman-owned business in your city, your county, your state, and the federal government. There are contracts that are set aside specifically for women-owned business. But first, you have to, as my mother said, you have to prepare yourself, apply, and get certified. Number two, what Cooge was relating to, the federal government in particular has a Section 8A program that gives minorities and underserved companies a leg up on having some set aside contracts. So again, I suggest that you get certified if you're a small business, and in particular, a minority business, to get certified as a small business through the federal government and a small business with a minority status through the 8A program. So again, I feel that you have to do the work to make sure that you're qualified for the various programs that are available. Because now it has been known, just like the difference in pay among men and women, there's a huge difference in the contracting opportunities for small companies and minority companies. So I suggest that you look into the various programs and make sure that you qualify and apply for them. So you will be able to make the playing field a little more level.
Well, one last question, which is the hardest question for every startup entrepreneur in America, male, female, black woman, even white. The hardest money to get is startup money. What's your advice on getting startup money?
Well, let me tell you what I did. When I decided to go in business, I was working for Howard University and I was working in the College of Nursing and I had a salary. I took my salary and saved every pay period and put away a little bit of money. So when I hired my first employee, I paid my employee salary from my savings. When I hired my second employee, I paid that employee from my salary and my savings. So what I would suggest that everybody think in terms of what they can do to try to accumulate money if they plan on going into business.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband told me at the time I had applied and actually had received a $50,000 loan from the Small Business Administration that I should not take that loan because since I was able to pay all of my salaries, I only had two, and pay all of my expenses in my business without a loan, burdening my little company with debt would be harmful. So I did not take that loan. And I operated for 40 years in this country without ever borrowing money to run my business because of the advice my husband gave me when I first started out.
Thank you.
Most people can't do that. But if you can, make sure that you try to save the resources you have yourself in going into business.
Yeah, I've heard that from some businessmen. They never borrowed a penny.
No, I never.
And that's one way if you have it like that. Mia, obviously we're in an age of pandemics.
Yes.
What has changed in terms of business interaction because of that?
Yes.
To be honest, we are a year in still with this pandemic, and most companies, employees are working from home, and if they are in the office, they're still maintaining social distance, and the interacting is not like it used to be where you could come to each other's office and maybe hang out, chit chat anymore. We're just playing it safe.
May I add to that? I see there's a tremendous opportunity today because of COVID for people who want to go into their own business to take advantage of all of the programs that are coming as a result of the COVID relief bill. And there's a lot of things that you have now that we did not have in actually starting a business. Most people think in terms of needing an office space. Well, now COVID has taught us that you can work from home. We also, when you work from home, everybody on this call and everybody that's listening understands when you work from home, you have to spend less on your clothing, you have to spend less on your makeup, you have to spend less on your hair. So you're able to save more money.
Yes.
And gas. So take advantage of all of these opportunities that you have. And again, save money because in business, there's going to come a time when you're going to need some money to go to the next level. And if you have it in the bank as a savings, you don't have to worry about this banker not giving you a loan and burdening you with debt. Because if you can work through what your expenses are with money you have in your pocket, you don't have to worry about how do I meet this obligation and not being able to pay my rent because I don't have the funds to do it if you have saved. your money?
I wanted to jump in too, as one
Opportunity.
who's never worked a 9 to 5, and being in a business that put me 8 inches from people's faces. This year, the 2020 to this moment, and being a survivor of COVID on top of that, you talk about having to pivot and learn how to adjust your skill set to a different environment. And so that's when I realized, I have a background in journalism. I like being in front of the camera, and it has afforded me the opportunity to look at how I connect with people in a different way. And so I started doing virtual consultations, because I did have the ability to look at someone from a camera, or from a picture, and still be able to recommend skincare, to be able to blend their makeup, to be able to do those things. And I never would have known that were it not for this time. And I, very fortunate. I had clients who said, "Well, I want you to win. I still want you to be there when this thing lifts, but I'm not coming in yet because you're 8 inches from my face." So they even sent donations, and it's kept me going and kept me alive. I'm also very grateful for your words, as far as, I was in uh, another seminar, and they were like, "Credit is king now," and actually said, that if you live a cash life, then you look untrustworthy in business. And I went, really? The fact that I don't have credit card debt, and I don't have, and never particularly worried myself about my credit score, because in the cosmetics industry, the minute, especially now in COVID, and just when the economy started going weird, one of the things that suppliers did in the cosmetic industry was go to basically a cash and carry mentality. You put down 50%, and you pay the other 50% on delivery. And they stopped doing the 30-day, 60-day, 90-day nets. So really only huge organizations like your Walmarts, Kmart's, and I mean Targets and things like that are even extending even small windows of credit in the beauty industry. Everybody wants all of their stuff. They want half up front and the other half just before they deliver, or the other half upon delivery. Even down to, you can't even give the UPS man money anymore. Used to be, I would get shipments in, I knew it was on the way, and I would hustle up what I needed. By the time the UPS man came to the door, I had a check or I had cash ready. Now, even before that happens, they want it up front. So it is encouraging to know someone in your industry. You have been around for so long, 40 years, as you said. It's nearly 40 years for me, that my mindset wasn't necessary. It's different, but not necessarily wrong, in wanting to live a cash life and not be settled with a lot of debt.
A lot of that. One of the things that I have found out
Mhm.
in during the COVID area, one of the things we do in the Lions Club, we teach children how to do artwork. We teach children how to play the piano. We give them life skills. We do a lot of things. And we started our program at the public library in Orlando. And once COVID hit, they closed the public library. So we had to learn to do virtual training children how to paint, training people how to play the piano. And I never knew that was possible. And now that we do know that it was possible, we can now reach people in different parts of the United States and in different parts of the world, because we've now developed the skills of virtual training young children. So we look
Yep,
forward
it
to
is exciting. I just did a consultation with two
that.
women in Oklahoma, two people who could never have walked into my shop. So I think, the pivot that we're making, though this thing has been a difficult thing, and 2020 could exit and kick rocks with open toe shoes for me. I am grateful for what came out, and what and I learned that I can take skills. What do you have in your house? What have you already learned? What do you already bring to the table? And you have an opportunity not just to bring it from the standpoint of where you are, your space, but also to be able to step into other people's spaces. Like I said, two clients that I got who are all the way in Oklahoma, that I met on social media, and in this pivot, I'm seeing now the ability to touch so many more than I could have had this thing not happened.
And
Well,
you will notice you could go on our website, oiff.us, which is our film festival website, and the children can actually submit their drawings that they are doing all over the country for our competition with our Peace Poster Project, which is a Lions Club project. But I never would have thought of having different people from all over the country submitting me drawings had I not seen that we could teach the children to do drawing virtually.
Mia, will we ever go back to kissing, shaking hands, or hugging?
You know, Cooch, I want to be optimistic and hope that one day, not anytime soon, you know, but yeah, maybe later on. But you know, for right now, we're doing elbow bumps and stuff. Maybe immediate family that lives in the household, you know, still can get the close hugs, but outside is kind of like, just hitting the elbow and staying your distance. Because even, after we getting, the vaccine shots and we're allowed, the world starts to open up and we can take off our masks, you're still going to be kind of not sure just yet, and for those who are single and want to date, intimacy,
Help me, Lord.
again, that's yeah. So
Cool,
one of the things that I have done, Cooj, is I switched to a clear mask. So now I have a mask that fits under here and goes below my chin, so that I'm able to, I start wrecking my lipstick. You know how hard it is being in the cosmetic business and you can't wear lipstick because you take your mask off, you look like you've been eating a popsicle. So that's, so I did find a way to be able to protect my client. So I have a mask that goes from here down and hits here. So, so it's stopping the projection of saliva. We have to be clear. This is not air, it's saliva floating in the air. Yeah. So the things that you do to prevent the saliva from floating in the air is the protection, not, it's on the trees. I walk away. If I'm out and I'm walking, I'm running, I keep a mask hung around my ear. If I walk past someone, I cover my face. When I get a few feet past them, I uncover my face. But, folks who are jogging with their mask on or driving in a car with the windows up with a mask on, I'm going, what are you doing? It's an overreach. Let's relax a little bit, people. We could be reasonable in this process. Look at how the flu has just about disappeared. Why? Because we washed our hands and we kept our face, we covered our mouths so that saliva was not projecting. A virus is a virus is a virus. The protection against it is pretty much the same thing. Cover up, wash your hands, be clean. And, I do look forward to not having to wear masks at all. But I'm with you. I'm not in a rush to not do it. Even when they say, okay, we're all free. No,
and I think
if I may, I'd like to go back to this kissing, shaking hands, and hugging. I don't know about you, Dr. Arlene, but I'm finding that over 50% of the people now seeking therapy are marriage counseling. Because a lot of the two are at home now. I don't know if they're kissing, shaking hands, or hugging, but I know a lot of them are fighting. I just wanted to get that point.
Fighting or having babies, one of them.
Back to business. Back to the question of business interaction in the age of pandemic.
As a former public health nurse, I need to remind everybody that we went through smallpox. Yes. We went through polio. So we will definitely get through COVID.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a good positive thought.
We will.
Let me ask you this question on
and I
business
think for
interaction.
Those that have
Go ahead.
No, I said for families that have elderly family, parents and grandparents, they still, still taking consideration of them as well too. Because I was talking to a family member of mine, and the daughter, she's still still keeping distance because the mother still has unconditions. So we're still taking precautions, but I think eventually, maybe in another year, things will be more relaxed.
Okay, then let me ask another question about business interaction. Are there different rules for women and alcohol at office parties than there are for men? Or
Yes.
office parties or
Oh,
social?
yes.
Yes, you get drunk with a lampshade on your head.
Yeah.
You're looked at totally different than if a man gets drunk with a lampshade on his head. And yes, you are going to get hit on, and when you reject that being hit on, you're going to get fired. Let's just be real. That has not changed, is not going to change. Women are expected to hold a certain level of decorum at all times when men are not, the boys will be boys, but women do the same thing. They're looked at completely differently.
And you definitely have to limit your alcohol consumption, and again, the rule, ladylike, act like a lady and maintain a lady, because again, your picture might end up on social media or video, and you don't want that.
Now that I have transitioned to the Orlando International Film Festival, I have to think about alcohol. But during my 40 years with Devon Research Systems, we were a non-alcoholic company, so I never dealt with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what are the protocols for being a vegan or vegetarian when being invited to dinners or going to business conferences?
Now you eat before you leave.
Oh, you just only eat vegetables. That's fine. You don't have to take the meat. You just take the vegetables.
And eat before you leave, so that if it's only celery, then you're okay with that.
I've been to conferences where
it's always a good thing to find out.
I've been to conferences where prior to the serving of the meal, I pull aside one of the waiters, and I tell them I'm a vegetarian. And every time I've done that, the cook seems to delight in fixing up something special for me.
That's happened to me also.
Yeah.
I'm vegetarian, and I do the same thing. I discreetly let someone know, that's going to communicate with the kitchen. But I do not suggest that you make a spectacle like, oh, I don't eat that. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be condescending. Don't act like a princess. Just request silently to the side. And like Lenny said, they'll fix you. They'll whip up something that looks even better.
Oh, they like that. Yeah.
Than what everyone else is eating. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a question. It seems to me that both men and women, a lot of them do not know the double dip rule. What's the double dip rule?
Just
if it touches your mouth even one time, do not put it back in the public dish. Period. Nobody wants your cooties. That's the double dip rule. I don't
even go near the dip.
Yeah.
I stay away from the dip. I'm sorry.
No dip, no mint. Nothing that you have to stick your hands in.
Some people don't care. They be just dipping and dipping and what? Am I doing that?
That's people that don't understand germ theory.
Yeah.
Lenny, we're indeed fortunate to have you here for one of our areas, which is balance. You're the perfect person to answer this question. How do you eat healthily, live a balanced family life while meeting constantly, traveling, and working late? In fact, you're not the only one that can answer that question, but why don't you start off?
All right. Well, I find schedules. Just because I'm working remotely or on the road doesn't mean I don't need a schedule, just like if I was sitting at a desk on a job. you have to schedule when you're going to work out. You have to schedule your meals. Uh, Also, I find that when I travel, I look ahead. I Google Trader Joe's, I Google Whole Foods, I Google what's near me, so that sometimes a part of my baggage is food that I know I'm not going to be able to get where I'm going. And in terms of scheduling, you also have to schedule time with your family. Okay, it's not going to happen by accident. You have to schedule it. So to me, it's a very simple answer to that factor balance for me.
What role does spirituality play in your success?
Everything.
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 I'm
It
not
starts with
limiting
that.
that question to Lenny,
365.
but
Yeah.
Well,
You can't do it without God. It's your assignment. One, He's the one that gave you the success assignment, and then so it starts there.
what I find that the answer that I would give to this question is an answer that was given to me by a particular mystic, because I've traveled around the world and I've met many mystics and saints. And one of the things they taught me was that there are often decisions that we have to make where the intellect and the mind alone does not inform us. So they then suggest that you take that moment and be still and know that I'm God, meaning it's another way of saying meditate, okay? And then do what comes naturally. Now, the other thing I would say is that in my work as a soul therapist, spirituality is the currency of my practice. And spirituality is synonymous with truth and love and consciousness in God. So, meaning this, uh, being conscious connects you to your spirit. And when you're connected to your spirit, you're connected to God. So, one of the biggest problems I find in uh, counseling people is that there's this suppression of consciousness about what people are really feeling, what they're thinking, what they're believing, what they're doing. And lo and behold, when people open up and allow themselves to be conscious of it, that's spirituality. And then what happens is when you allow yourself to be conscious, you don't have to solve all the problems. You get help from your spirit by virtue of intuition, sometimes by virtue of directing you to people who you need to solve a particular problem. So I think that the bottom line, spirituality is the bottom line. Even when you don't believe in spirituality, when you're being conscious, you're being spiritual.
okay, a final question I have for all of you is this. We'll begin with you, Lenny, which is how do you maintain inner peace while dealing with all the conflict and violence you have to face every day? And I know that's especially true as a therapist, you and Dr. Ali. But how do you do that, maintain that center?
Three things. Daily meditation. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do, if it's only for 5 minutes, is meditate. When I go to bed at night and lay down, I don't lay down listening to music or watching television. I lay down focusing on my single eye, the third eye, and I meditate. Okay. Uh, so the first thing is meditation. Of course, part of meditation can be prayer, but for me, prayer is giving thanks for all that I have, the gift of life, being grateful. Uh, but then it's time to be still and listen for my instructions. That's meditation. The second thing is service. Okay, selfless service, finding a way to serve, to help somebody else uh, with no thought of what you get in return. And then the third thing is fellowship, uh, meaning uh, finding a group of people that you can meet with, that you're in tune with spiritually, and talk about the purpose and meaning of God and spirit, and it's like a support group for yourself on the spiritual path. And for me, those are the things that help me to maintain peace. The last thing I'll say about that is that this is very important. One mystic told me Because somebody asked this mystic, well, how do you know that you're doing the will of God? And the mystic said, well, it's not necessarily when you're doing what makes you happy. You can be happy one minute and sad the next. He said that it's when you feel at peace with your decisions and what you're doing. Sometimes you all know we have to do things we don't want to do, but when we make that decision and do the right thing, then we are at peace.
Catherine Love?
Um, well, I maintain peace in dealing with conflict by remembering that first rule for me is not to take anything personal. People are dealing with things that you don't know about. And one thing that helps me also is spending some time alone. Yes, I do love spending time with other people, and fellowship is important. I agree with Lenny, but spending time alone gives me a balance where I can just process things. Because I do need to take time to say, okay, Catherine, stop taking things personal. And when I come out of my cave, I'm good, you know. And I also have my own spiritual practice, which is Qigong, and going to the beach every morning and just seeing the sunrise and the sunset and being one with nature. And I know that probably sounds a little weird to some people, but that's part of my spiritual practice. And that's how I deal with conflict and violence.
Ambassador Dr. Arlene?
Well, I think the hardest thing for me was to maintain balance in my life. That could be anything from diet to exercising. If I looked at the things I most love in life and my work was so out of balance that I wasn't doing any of those things on a regular basis, that was an issue. And as I worked with patients that chose to, it was like a contract between two people to look at why they were unhappy or how their journey got off track. And I learned from them too. It was like a combination, two people working together, seeking for the optimal good within themselves and their optimal happiness. And balance, things being out of balance can be a problem. Learning how to find that balance, whether through meditation. I think I've even gotten help as I meditated and had certain dreams. I woke up with renewed energy, some hopefulness or some direction that came to, and I could only see it as a spiritual connection that I got through meditation. If I was sort of stuck, being able to, I mean, I can literally share. In medical school, I was in a 2-week period of exams every single day. I was exhausted. I didn't know if I could pass the next exam. And I laid down for 45 minutes saying, well, if I flunk out of medical school because of this one exam, then there's nothing I can do. I don't know how I'm going to tell people. And I laid down almost in defeat. In 45 minutes, I woke up as if I'd had 8 hours of sleep. I'd had a dream about my grandmother who told me I could do it. And that was, to me, that was almost like God taking my grandmother's face, something I could identify with. And I went in and got like the second highest grade on any exam through medical school. That was I was so tired that it was like I was broken down. That was a spiritual thing for me. That I woke up and actually looked at material, and lo and behold, it was on the exam. I had a 1,000-page book, a mountain of notes, but I went right to the things that I needed to see and went to that exam and did very well on it. And that was, for me, it's all been about balance and sort of that spiritual connectedness.
Julie Rogers, how do you maintain inner peace?
First of all, couple of the great learns for me was one, the being in love with the truth. And the reason I say that is because our feelings are factual. It is a fact that we feel certain ways, but it's not necessarily true. So just like Catherine was saying about not taking things personally, you might feel like a person is out to get you or they don't mean you well, only to find out that that wasn't true. That person was reacting to you off of something that had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
There was a moment that my son and we were having a discussion, and it morphed into this thing where I'm all out of control. And in the midst of it, the Spirit spoke to me, and I apologized to my son and said, "You know what? I'm yelling at you over something that has nothing to do with you." And so the safety of being in love with the truth, because once you do that, and God is truth, and so He is love and He is truth, and those kind of work in concert together, then you find that the truth reveals itself. And things that you were upset about, or things that you feared, or stuff that you feared might happen, actually weren't going to happen anyway, but didn't happen. So that, and then embracing truly, and I'm saying in the last 3 years, really, the last 3, 4 years, embracing the true love of God for me as a parent in my life, such that, Psalms 91 talks about 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near your dwelling. And to really, truly believe that, even in the face of having gotten COVID and being in the hospital for 8 days, because I believed in the true love of God for me, I only had one of two requests: either release me from this place and let me honor what you have assigned me to do, or clean me so that I spend the rest of eternity with you. And I establish a peace either way. Thereafter, it's like no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So it's not that people won't try you, but once you understand that in the end we win. I read the book, and at the end we win. So since I know that no matter what weapon is formed against me, it shall not prosper. I didn't come here a minute before I'm supposed to be here, and I'm not leaving a minute before I'm supposed to go, saved by my own hand, which is why suicide is such a tragic thing. But it is standing on a belief that what is meant for me, no one can take away from me. The gifts of the Spirit are without repentance or without regret. I come to the planet with my gifts already installed, and I'm living it out. But whatever is for me, no person can keep me from it. You might delay it. The angel was delayed getting to Daniel, but he didn't stop him. And so knowing that you're winning and having the patience to deal in God's timing over my own timing, so that I calm down and I realize the third thing: I have what I need when I need it. And if I don't have it right now, I don't really need it right now. And that has manifested throughout my life, that I've gotten time, I've gotten money, I've gotten a reduction of what it is that I had to pay, or I got forgiveness and didn't have to pay it at all. And that was the manifestation for me of tithing. So that's the other thing that has given me a great deal of peace in my life, is to take 10% of what I have and put it somewhere where it glorifies God. And what I have found is the return is that forgiveness, time, the actual money, or needing less than what I thought that I needed. That grace always manifests. I believe I have grace on my face, and I stand on that.
Dr. Alexander, how do you maintain inner peace dealing with all the confusion, conflict, and violence you have to face every day?
The thing that I do in my life is reflect on all of the wonderful things that have happened to me, and all of the gifts that God has given me, my parents have given me, my teachers have given me, and my wonderful husband, Dr. Stanley Alexander. Every day of my life, I think about the blessings that have come my way. And my husband and I at night, holding hands, talk about the blessings that we have had as a couple. And
Amen.
then we talk about the responsibility we have to help other people. And we think about the things we're going to do in the morning to help somebody that needs work on our property, to help the children in the Lions Club, to help to make sure that some of these emerging filmmakers get an opportunity to have their film screened. So the way I live my life, I think of all of the wonderful things that have come to me and my responsibilities to give back, and having a wonderful husband who allows me to give back. with his resources and his support. That's the way I maintain balance. Just thanking God for the things I have and realizing my responsibility to give back. And when I give back, and I don't care whether it's, helping with giving people scholarship money or helping children to know how to do artwork or to help a family that needs a place to stay. And many times we take in homeless people on our state and they can live here. And to me, those gifts have come back to me as a result of my giving to other people. And I'm very, very happy with my life, having given the rent that Shirley's Chisholm talks about for being on this planet by giving to other people. And that's what I do to have peace in my life, is through my giving back to others.
Well, Dr. Alexander, one of the things that impressed me the most when I met you, you didn't know this, but somebody knows you very well, came to me and said, yes, she's made a lot of money, but she has also given some Black children that she doesn't even know full 4-year rides in college just because they needed it. And immediately I knew the type of soul that I was dealing with. Mia, you have as many challenges as anybody sitting at the table. How do you maintain inner peace?
Morning meditation, not just to seek wisdom, prayer, thankfulness. Being a 21-year breast cancer survivor, I am thankful for the morning that I wake up and able to see the sunrise and, do what I love doing, in my business. I also do meditation at night, again, to clear my head and so that I have a peaceful sleep. I don't want anything that has been bothering me throughout the day. I just let it go. And the second thing for me is self-care. Not only, eating healthy, also pampering myself, taking time, my me time, because we need that time to just sit and talk with ourselves and get to know ourselves. And sometimes identify some of the root of some of our problems that we're dealing with, and to tame those and move on and let it go. I also try to keep a positive circle of friends, that center core, that I don't allow people to invade that space. Because if you can't educate me, elevate me, inspire me, motivate me, I don't need you in that circle.
Woo! She dropped the mic.
That's it. You gotta go. That means
you can't be negative and stay here.
I do spring cleaning too. Gotta go. Delete to the left, it's important, because I deal with a lot of underlying conditions, and maintaining peace is my survival each and every day, and I love helping people. Sometimes what I do, people think that's, you're a workaholic, or, I love it. I love helping people. I love sharing my beautiful culture. I love, whatever. Cooj will call me. We on the phone for hours, and it don't matter because I enjoy it. That's my God-given talent. Allow me to survive 21 years and still continue. So I'm never going to take that for granted, and just do all I can, and hopefully leave a positive legacy for my children to see their mother and my friends.
Beautiful.
Well, let me just say that all of you have been a gift to me, and I feel special, including you as my friends and allies and things that we are working on. Now what we're going to do is return to our host for some special offers from our guests. Mia.
Let me return. Lenny, you have an exciting offer for us. Please share.
Okay. Often we are like the car that's run out of the battery juice, and we need a charge. Once we get the charge, we're on our way. What I'm offering is a soul therapy session, and the purpose of it is to discover what is the obstruction, what's the clot that's keeping you from moving to the next stage. And so I'm offering it in the form of a 1 hour free soul therapy session to get at that obstruction, the clot that's keeping you from moving on and keeping it moving. So just use the code word GLOW to indicate that you've watched this program. And you can contact me at lberg.soultherapist@gmail.com or call or text 929-334-5742. That's 929-334-5742.
Thank you, Lenny. Julie, you also have an offer too?
Yes, I do. Like I said, Color and Soul is all about who you are as an individual. And what we do is we create the colors of your soul. And so, so my offer for today is a free virtual custom blend consultation. I'm going to talk with you. I'm going to analyze your skin from the comfort of your own home. We're going to talk by video, and I'm going to analyze your skin, and you're going to watch me actually do a blend for your skin color right on the spot. And it's a $75 value. And the way that you will contact me at foxyboxybeauty.com. We're getting ready to launch our new beauty box, Foxy Boxy Beauty, which is a beauty box that is filled with wonderful things specifically for the woman of color over 40. So you get to reach out to me at MissJulie@foxyboxy.com, or you can also give me a call. You saw through the presentation, I had a QR code. If you aim your camera at that QR code, everything that you need to know to get in contact with me will come up. So just take a snapshot of that QR code, and you will be connected with videos and all kinds of tips and fun things too. And you can also reach out to me at 240-432-4404. That's 240-432-4404. And I will be happy to take care of you. You only have until June the 1st to get it done, but we will have a great time. It's a $75 value, and you will come away knowing so much more about your skin, its health, and your skin tone, and being perfectly matched. I promise.
And Ambassador Dr. Arlene?
Yes. For me, it was a natural segue to go from being a psychiatrist where people trusted me with the stories of their journeys. I met incredible people. And so the segue to hearing people's stories, whether the filmmaker told their own story or someone else's story or created fiction, some of these stories are not only entertaining, but the enlightening and empowering is just, that's my passion also. Because you can leave a movie and say, wow, if that person overcame all that they had to overcome and still find the success and the journey they were trying to do, or just how empowered you feel when a story really hits home for you. Now, what I'd like to offer, please join us at the Orlando International Film Festival. You can go to orlandointernationalfilmfestival.org, and I'm going to give you a special code. Please write this down. The code is DRA. That's D as in David, R as in Robert, A as in Alexander, or Arlene. You can think Dr. Alexander or Dr. Arlene. The code is DRA, and you'll get a discount on our tickets or passes. We have in-person tickets to attend. We have half-day tickets. We can get a ticket for all 5 days. We have incredible movies to share with you. These people's stories will literally move the world. I really think that when you have dialogue from a mother with 3 children and the problems she's facing in her country, with another mother with children and their problems, you can find common ground in the everyday person. And I really think that can lead to mutual understanding of one another beyond the politics in the world. We have stories that can unite people, and they're incredible, passionate stories. Remember the code DRA.
Thank you,
And that
Ambassador Arlene.
that will have to be in all caps.
All caps.
DRA.
Thank you. Yes.
And Catherine?
Okay, so I'm providing an offer for Coily Works, and we are offering 20% discount on any of our self-empowerment speakers. To make an arrangement, contact me at coilyworks@gmail.com. A full list of our speakers is available at coilyworks.com. That's KWELIWORKS.com. Use the code GLOW to get the discount. And that's coilyworks@gmail.com to make arrangements for any of our speakers.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Mia, you have an offer.
Yes, I do. My offer is offering 25% discount on a full page advertisement in KUO magazine. A full page ad is averages about $250, and that includes a social media spotlight on my social media for Facebook and Instagram. And you can email me at imkuomagazine@gmail.com and use the code GLOW to get a discount.
Okay, so it's been a great show. And thank you, all of you, for allowing us to bring you this celebration of Women's History Month for 2021.
And thank you, our glowing honorees. Dr. Florence Alexander, President and founder of Orlando Film Festival, OIFF.
And thank you to our roundtable feature panelists. Miss Julie Rogers, the Black Skin Whisperer, skin and body, holistic cosmetic makeup artist and natural cosmetic manufacturer.
Catherine Maruri Love, producer, host of Living the Life You Love, image and lifestyle consultant, Coily Works.
Yes, thank you, and live the life you love.
And Ambassador Dr. Arlene Woodbury of OIFF, Ambassador, board member, and head jurist.
I just want people to remember the 4 E's, movies that are entertaining, enlightening, empowering at the Enzion Theater. Please join us May 24th through 28th. Look forward to seeing you or hearing from you.
And of course, Cooj, thank you to our producer, director, and moderator.
Thank you and peace out.
Let us know what you think of this show. Please email us at imkuomagazine and like us also on Facebook at Women of Culture, and culture is spelled with a K 365.
And finally, I'm Lenny Berg coming to you from Harlem, New York. Stay well and stay in peace.
And I'm Mia coming to you from Ocoee, Florida. May all you seek the power of glow through the greater level of wellness. I will see you every third Tuesday with my monthly show called Glow on Women of Culture 365 Facebook page.